Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Doug Hansen, and I am president of the Icelandic National League of the United States. It is my honor to welcome you to our presentation today. This webinar is part of an ongoing series of educational webinars jointly sponsored by the Icelandic National League of the United States and the Icelandic National League of North America in Canada. Today, we also have special guests from the Snorri Foundation in Reykjavik. We will introduce them shortly. Now I would like to welcome Gwen Morgan, President of the Icelandic National League of North America, for her opening remarks. Welcome, Gwen.
Thank you, Doug. My name's Gwen Sigrid Morgan. I'm the president of the INLNA, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to this really exciting webinar. Both INL US and INLNA are very proud supporters of the Snorri program. And before we begin, I just want to do a land acknowledgement. As we're gathering online from places all across North America, we're taking a moment just to recognize the traditional custodians of the land on which we live and work. So perhaps you bring to mind the local Indigenous people in your area. So we're pausing to honor the ancestral stewardship of many First Nation or Métis or Inuit people. And we acknowledge that we are striving for reconciliation and truth and a respectful inclusion of all peoples in a free and open society. Thank you very much. And now I'll pass it on to Diane.
Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Welcome to our program for today. I'm very honored to have with us our Snorri partners, and we are looking forward to a very good, exciting informational program. Before we get started, there are just a couple of things that I'd like to bring to your attention. The first is that the program is being recorded and will be available on the INL US website. Secondly, you are in muted mode. We can't see you or hear you, but we do want to make sure you get all the information that you need. There will be a Q&A session towards the end of the program. So as soon as you think of a question you'd like to have answered, please enter it using the Q&A button and the Q&A feature in Zoom. And so let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to get the introductions underway with Julie Summers and Atli. So Julie, take it away.
All right, Atli, actually, you want to go first?
Yes. Hi, my name is Atli Haldarsson. This is the fourth calendar year that Julie and I are starting as project managers of the Snorri program, saying that is kind of extraordinary to me, as this is not only the most fun job I've ever had, this is also now the job I've had for the longest time. And I've been working for one of the founders of the Snorri program since 2022. So it's been a lot of fun. And to tell you a bit about myself, then my favorite hobby is hiking and being outdoors in general. And getting to take the participants of the programs to go outside and explore Iceland is one of the things that I've had the most fun with in recent years, and it is one of the things that makes this job so much fun. I'll be talking to you a bit more later on in this webinar, but now I'd like to introduce you to Julie.
Thank you. So my name is Julie Summers. I am originally from Washington State in the US, close to Portland, Oregon, if that's familiar to anyone. I grew up knowing I was of Icelandic heritage myself, but because of the area where I grew up, several hours away from Seattle, there wasn't really much of an Icelandic community in that area. So I stumbled upon the Snorri program in 2012 on New Year's Day, actually, and ended up rushing to get my application in. And to say that that was a fortuitous discovery and decision would be kind of an understatement because I participated that summer in 2012. During my homestay portion, which I'll talk a bit more about in a minute, I stayed with relatives in the Westfjords region, and they really didn't speak English, so I had to practice my Icelandic, and it was intimidating, but ultimately an amazing experience, so much so that I moved to Iceland 2 years later to study full-time at the university. So 6 years in Iceland, I finished 2 degrees, a bachelor's in Icelandic as a second language, and then a master's in translation studies. And while I was living there, I also joined the board of the Snorri Foundation. So pretty much continuously since 2012, I was involved with the Snorri programs in one way or another. And as Atli said, we took over as co-project managers in 2023. So the full circle experience of being a participant myself and now having welcomed 2 groups of young Snorris has been pretty surreal, but really rewarding. I'm currently based in Germany most of the year, but of course I'm in Iceland during the summer months to welcome the groups. And I also work as a freelance translator from Icelandic, of course. So I am going to give a quick introduction now to what the Snorri program is, for those who may not be super familiar with it. So I'm going to share my slides here. All right. I hope everyone can see that properly. So if you don't know what the Snorri program is, it is an immersive 5-week cultural exchange program founded all the way back in 1999. And it has been operating continuously since then, with, of course, a couple of years off due to COVID. It is operated by 2 organizations in Iceland, the Nordic Association and the Icelandic National League of Iceland. They co-founded the Snorri Foundation, which is not for profit. So our largest single sponsor is the Icelandic government, and other main sponsors are the city of Reykjavik and the Árni Magnússon Institute in Iceland and Icelandic Roots in North America, as well as INLNA and INLUS, of course. We have an office space in downtown Reykjavik with Atli and me, the 2 project managers, and a board of directors. So the goal of the Snorri program is to connect young people of Icelandic heritage from Canada and the US to their roots in Iceland. And each year we welcome between 11 and 18 young people, ages 20 to 30. So there are 5 weeks to the program, as I said, and those 5 weeks are split into three parts. So weeks 1 and 2 are what we call the cultural and educational, or educational and cultural program. I see I switched it there. And during these first 2 weeks, the entire group is staying together in Reykjavik. Generally, we have them at a really cozy hostel called Dalur, which is in a beautiful area of the city. And they're usually 3 to 4 to a room and really get to know each other very quickly. And the cultural and educational program is comprised of Icelandic language lessons, which we try to make really interactive and practical and fun. And then lectures from leading figures in Icelandic society on topics like Icelandic history, geology, nature, genealogy, gender equality, queer history, and a lot more. And the specific schedule varies a little bit year by year. We also do some museum visits. We visit the Parliament building, which is what you see here in the picture on the left. And we are almost always lucky enough to be able to go to Bessastaðir and meet the president of Iceland, who is currently Halla Tómasdóttir. Sometimes we're able to meet representatives from the Canadian and US embassies as well. And that is just kind of the highlights. There's way more. And of course, we also have activities that are not in the classroom, in evenings and weekend activities as well. So weeks 3 and 4 then are the homestay period, or the family and volunteer period. So for these weeks, the group splits up and each participant goes to stay with an Icelandic family. We try to identify distant relatives. So if you have kind of a more traditional emigration background where it was possibly a great grandparent who emigrated, the relatives that you stay with may be kind of 5th cousins, something like that. Some participants have more recent emigration backgrounds, so it can really vary who you're staying with. But we, as the program managers, take care of finding the family or families for you. Some people will stay at multiple homes, actually. And we do our best to find a family to host you in an area where you have roots. So as I said, for me, I spent time in the West Fjords when I was a participant myself, and that is where my great-grandfather emigrated from. It is peak season in Iceland, the height of the summer holiday season, so that factors in as well. And as I said, sometimes people have to shift around between a couple different homes because families already had travel plans or something. But we always make sure that we work out all those details for you and take really good care of you. Um, the goal of this part of the experience is that you experience daily life in an Icelandic household. And part of that is not only that you have, meals with the family and do activities with them, but also that you have a volunteer position, which is kind of intended to be similar to the type of job that maybe a teenager or a young adult might have over the summer in Iceland. So volunteer positions that participants have done include, for instance, museums, fish processing plants, small shops, guest houses, other things related to tourism, sometimes working with kids, all kinds of things. And that again is something that we find for you. So this part is what really makes the Snorri experience unique because you can plan a trip to Iceland on your own and do all the sightseeing and experience a lot of the culture, maybe, inform yourself on the history. But this is what really is kind of the crux of the program. And I think what all participants would agree is the most challenging, but the most rewarding and memorable part. So after that, the last week is the adventure tour. And for the adventure tour, the group reunites for one night in Reykjavik, and then we set off on a week-long adventure. And this is a little bit more kind of typical sightseeing activities that you might imagine when you think of a trip to Iceland. What we guarantee is that there will always be plenty of waterfalls and amazing nature. And as long as Kent is our driver, there will also always be plenty of ice cream stops. Beyond that, the activities and the route and everything varies year to year. Some activities that are often on the schedule include whale watching, hiking, zip lining, boat tours, visiting a Viking longhouse, a reenactment place, farm tours, etc. And we also always stop up in Hofsós, which is in the beautiful Skagafjörður region in North Iceland, to visit the Icelandic Emigration Center. So that is, the adventure tour, and it wraps up then with a graduation dinner and celebration back in the city before everyone says their goodbyes and heads back home to North America or on to additional adventures. So, Atli will talk, I think, a bit more about the plans for this year's tour later, but this year's adventure tour will be going around the entire island on the ring road. So that will be really exciting, fun whirlwind trip. So that is an overview of the program, but hearing the facts like that is not quite as impactful as hearing personal experiences. So I would like to introduce Siobhan Handley-Derry, who is here as a very recent alumna. She was with us last summer on the program. She's from Toronto, works as a registered nurse, and as I think she'll also mention, she was not the first in her family to do the program. So I will hand it over to you, Siobhan.
Thanks, Julie, for that introduction. I'm going to share my slides now and then share a bit about my experience, which was very amazing. I think we can see them now. Okay, so I participated in the Snorri this past summer in 2025. So here's some pictures. So my sister actually participated back in 2022. This is my twin sister, and she had a fabulous experience. Fortunately, there was still availability in December, January for the Snorri program. And when I realized that this was my opportunity, I jumped on it and was accepted to participate in 2025. And it was really a life-changing experience. It was really amazing. So here I just want to show geographically where we were and then where I went. So I had previously been to Iceland when I was 14 and visited some cousins in Reykjavik. So I did know about some family before participating in this program. However, a decision to join the program was to ask the Snorri program to look a bit more into relatives or family history in Akureyri because we knew that family had left from the north part of the island. So they did do investigation and found some relatives that I could stay with for my homestay. And so for that homestay portion, I was in Akureyri up north and in Reykjavik. And so that's something that's very unique to the Snorri program is Atlee and Julie doing this work to be able to connect family, yeah, in Iceland and Canada. They had no idea they had Canadian relatives. I didn't really know about them, but through this experience, we were connected. So this is some photos of that cousin who realized he had Canadian family, and the cousins I never knew before, and we were reunited. So we were up in Akureyri. These are some photos that show the landscape that's beautiful and very different up north. You have the mountains and you have the farmland, and they had a house on a farm, and this is a picture in the corner of me in the middle. Um, Actually, my second cousin, who also participated in the program, and we went up north together, Alex. And this is our relative, Arnie, who is our second cousin, once removed. And so we're holding a book showing that my great grandfather, Stephenson, and his great grandmother were brother and sisters. And it was my great grandfather who left and emigrated to Canada. And so there's this bit of lost history between them, but this is kind of exciting that we were able to come back together. Here we go. Then actually, when we first went up, it was a very unique experience. We were just kind of delved right in to meeting a whole lot of family and extended family. We went up and they were having a family reunion that first weekend. Since they're on a farm, a lot of people came up and pitched tents. So there was a total of 70 cousins there that we met, all third, fourth cousins, and they played games, all ages. So here are some photos of grandmothers and some of the children that I got to meet. And so that was a very exciting experience. Very immersed. Everyone was speaking Icelandic. And so, like Julie, it's very immersed in trying to pick up a little bit from our 2 weeks of studying. Here's some photos of the area. The picture on the left shows the house where we stayed at. In the field where they have lots of land because they're farmers. And then this picture shows a more larger view of just the landscape and how in the valley you have the farmland, and then really you're in this background of the mountains, which are really beautiful. Greg Goro was there. Arnie and Boca's farmland, and that's the name. So there's another view, just really captivating and beautiful to be up there. So what's really amazing is not only to be connected to family, but also to go and meet this family and then develop a connection to the land. So coming to this specific area, right across from where we were staying, what is Arnie's family's farm, Story Dohagi, where we did our volunteer experience and helped on the dairy farm. But this valley also includes a farm called Oddbrekka, which was the farm that my great grandfather Stephenson was born. And so being in this area really kind of connected to the land. And that was really lovely. Here are some photos of spending time on the farm, which was a dairy farm. And we hiked up, helped build fences, helped kind of with day-to-day activities of them running the dairy farm, which is very unique, very different from my everyday registered nurse life. So the Snorri is about connecting you with family, um, exploring new locations, all about also adventure. So here's some photos of some of the locations I was able to go to. So here I am in Hefur. I might be mispronouncing, but this is a very famous geothermal area near Lake Mivat, and the landscape is very unique. Here's another picture of just the geothermal volcanic activity. We also did lots of hikes, and this was a specific hike to Baki Mountain in the area, particular to Akureyri. This mountain range is a very kind of different mountain range that's very noticeable as you're driving towards Akureyri. And we did this hike, which was very beautiful. And so, as Julie mentioned, we also go to Hofsås, and which has the Icelandic Immigration Center. So that was really amazing to go there, and they have three buildings that go through the history of why our Icelanders, like my great grandfather, left Iceland and went to Canada. Here is a picture of my sister with a relative that we found part of the display, and she found a fun fact about her. Let me grab it. Is she was my great grandfather's first cousin, and she was a really amazing cook, and she actually cooked for the king during his royal visit to the Winnipeg. So when you go, everyone of the Snorri program goes to Hofsås, and you might be able to find a little bit of your family history there, which was amazing. Here again, just showing the how much we went out and experienced the Icelandic landscape and nature. I also went to the second largest island in Iceland called Hersey Island, and that was pretty beautiful. So Snorri is about meeting new people. This is a picture from the first day with a Snorri West participant, Dagrin, and Atli there. What was pretty amazing too is the Snorri program organized for us, Snorri East, going to Iceland to meet Snorri West Icelanders. So I got to meet Sigfus here, who went and did the Snorri program in North America. And the Snorri program organized us to have a dinner and sit down and really share experiences. So I'm really, really proud to be part of the Snorri family, to have had this experience. And I really hope that my presentation just shows how unique this is, and that it encourages anybody who's thinking to participate in this program to really take advantage and jump on this opportunity like I did and like Julie did. It's really, really amazing. Now that's my presentation, and I'd like to pass it along to Oliver, and he's going to share his experience from the Snorri program the year before mine in 2024. All right, Oliver, take it away.
All right, thanks, Siobhan. Great presentation. Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name's Oliver Cunningham. I'm from Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And as Siobhan mentioned, I did Snorri a couple years back in 2024, the year before her. And I'm just going to filibuster for a second here while but yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm from Antigonish, Nova Scotia, and my Icelandic roots are through Gimli. And so here on the left is a picture of my younger sister, myself, and my older brother being held on the Viking statue in Gimli by our three older cousins. And in the middle there is me, and holding me is my cousin Sarah. And then on the right is Sarah all grown up with her mom, Vivian Painter, who some of you probably know, and who is also my aunt. And so I didn't spend much time in Gimli growing up, but I was lucky enough to spend a couple summers when I was going to university in Newfoundland. I'd often go for summer breaks to Gimli, and stay with Vivian. And on one of those breaks, I got talking to Sarah. She had actually done Snorri in the past and said how much she loved it. And I told Sarah about how I'd gone to Iceland on a family trip back when I was probably 16, 17, and how I sort of felt a sense of like it kind of felt like home. And so she said, you got to do it. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And so I thought that sounded pretty good. So why not? So as Julie mentioned, we started in Reykjavik. I'll probably just quickly flip through a lot of these shots and then get onto the homestay. But here on the left is a picture of us on the first morning eating breakfast or lunch in the Dollar hostel. We all sort of get off the plane, all like arriving from different parts of North America. Overnight flight, you get into 24-hour daylight. You're all kind of delirious, but it made great for sort of meeting everyone else in a very stress-free environment. So that was awesome. Then on the right, obviously, is the Havsgrimkirkja in Reykjavik. Hot dogs, of course, in Reykjavik, and ice cream that became sort of a nightly ritual for our group. Not to mention the stops along the adventure tour with Kent. So we certainly got our fill. This is us meeting Gudni, the president at the time. And here we have the Canadian ambassador to Iceland. Lots of very important people. And here's just a snapshot from the University of Iceland, where we had our language classes, our history, culture, genealogy, and whatnot. And then, yeah, so as Julie mentioned, this was sort of the meat of the whole experience. And so I was set up in Ketta and the Skye Peninsula. It's about 45 minutes north of Södertörn. And so I got there, and it's a sheep farm. On the left picture here, we have the father, Röki, his wife, Dora, who is my third cousin once removed, and their son, Björn. And when I got here, I was over the moon, because when Sarah had told me about her Snorri experience, she also stayed on a sheep farm with a different side of the family. And I had kind of developed like not an obsession, but an affinity for Icelandic sheep. And pretty much all I wanted was to be on a sheep farm. So I was ecstatic when I arrived. But yeah, I guess it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. We had some work to do. Day zero, really, they got me to set up the trampoline for Björn, which was fine because I had a trampoline growing up. So we made light work of that. And then we had our sort of daily chores, you could call them. So feeding the orphan sheep was 2 to 3 times a day. Oh, by the way, so these are all pictures of Björn. A lot of these pictures will be not pictures of me, because I'm not huge on selfies, and I didn't really want to ask them to take my picture, but I was there, I promise. Yeah, so on the left, filing down the hooves of the horses, putting horseshoes on, sawing down the horns of the rams so they don't kill each other, and then shoveling shit, of course. Collecting driftwood to repair the fences along the farm. And then my all-time favorite was saddling up on horseback and herding the sheep out into the mountain. This is great because I had never ridden a horse before Iceland. I never really felt the draw to horses, but from my first time, I became super into it. On the left, so this is my horse Ophigger, and this is Björn and his brown horse Aus. And luckily, the horses themselves were brothers, and so oftentimes they would sort of just ride side by side without any effort. So we got to spend a lot of quality time there. All right, and then the Bilbo Bangsy books. So I guess I would do a lot of chores throughout the day. You sort of wake up, breakfast, farm work, lunch, farm work, coffee tima, farm work. But throughout the day, there'd be sprinkled in 1 or 2 sort of breaks where the parents just said, "Why don't you go play with Bjorn?" Usually on the trampoline or playing soccer, which to me was like a good deal. Take a break from farm work to play on the trampoline. But in return, I got him to teach me Icelandic, which he wasn't super thrilled about because he just wanted to go play. But he eventually gave me his series of Bobo Bangsy children's books, which I still have, which is great. And so by the end of it, I feel like Ricky and Dora definitely appreciated probably a hand in manual labor, but I think by the end they appreciated more having someone to play with Bjorn because he must have been the only kid in like a 50-kilometer radius up there, and so at the very least, Bjorn was super excited to spend time with a long lost cousin. He told me he really wants to do Snorri West when he comes of age, so I have to keep tabs on him. Yes, and then Svartadalir. So about a weekend of my homestay, the family took me to the Svartadalir Valley where both of our families originated from. It was Dora's Langave and my Langave were brothers. And so my Langave eventually emigrated to Canada and hers inherited the farm, ended up moving to Keta. And that's sort of how we deviated path. But a very cool trip. I think something I'll definitely never forget. And then we visited these are some shots. We visited in Söderkrókur, Dora's mom, which should have been my Amma's first cousin. And we went through photo books, of course, as every Icelander does. And I found shots of my Amma and my Langave when they visited. I think it was in the 70s. So yeah, something about that was very, very cool. And then yeah, back to Gimli. All roads lead back to Gimli, at least in my experience. So since I guess graduating from Snorri, I then helped out at the Icelandic camp in Gimli. It's been, I guess, yeah, both 2024 and 2025. So both years I've been involved in the camp as a counselor, which is cool because like I said, I never spent any time really growing up in Gimli. So I never got the chance to be a kid camper. But I have got the chance to be a counselor, which is just as cool. And I think it's great because it at least for me, well, we were all sort of disappointed, obviously, when Snorri came to a close. You're all leaving probably the most magical 5 weeks of your life. But for me, luckily, it sort of actually kicked off my involvement in the Icelandic community in North America. So not all sad. And I look forward to hopefully doing the camp for many more years to come. And that is it. So thanks a lot for listening. I think I'll kick it back to Julie.
Yes, thank you, Oliver. Okay, so we have one more participant who participated with Siobhan last summer who wanted to share but could not attend live. So he recorded just a very short couple-minute video for us. And just so you know who you're watching, this is George McLaughlin. He, like I said, was from last year's group. He's from Alberta, Canada. And he is the third sibling in his family to do the program. His sister and brother participated in 2016 and 2019. And of course, he had to follow in their footsteps. So I think Doug has his video ready. And then at the end, after the next little segment where Atli is going to talk about how to apply and how to get funding support for the programs, we'll have one more video at the end that we're saving kind of for the end because it's a really fun one. And yeah, so you stick around for that too. But first, George.
Hello, my name's George, and I'm a Snorri alumni from this past year in 2025. Now, I know it may be easy to take anything and everything I have to say as just recency bias, but I'm the third one of my siblings to have attended this program, and I don't think I could, nor did they, overstate the lasting impacts that it's had on their lives. Whether you grew up with Icelandic traditions around the holidays or otherwise, or only had a vague notion of your heritage, the Snorri program acts as a conduit for a deeper dive into these histories and these traditions. I'm not exaggerating when I say that every single place that I visited on my 2 week homestay or during the week-long adventure tour were some of the most beautiful sights that I have ever seen. Where I come from is there's no shortage of marvelous landscapes, but there's something about learning the volcanic histories of how this island emerged from the ocean and being able to see it with your own eyes that just makes these mountainscapes all the more breathtaking. So if you're on the fence about this program, this trip, this experience, if you've ever wanted a deeper connection to or understanding of where you came from, if you've ever wanted to take one of those 23andMe tests but never wanted to spit in the tube, Snorri offers a very personal and lasting experience that I think many, many other people wish they had access to. Take care and good luck, everyone.
All right, then I will turn it over to Atli now, who is going to talk about some specifics for this year's program, how to apply, and how to get funding support.
Wow, thank you everyone for that trip down memory lane. It was awesome to see your photos. It was awesome to relive those moments. I have just been thinking that if anyone is watching or listening and is not in the age group of 20 to 30, then we do have a parallel program called the Snorri Plus program, which is a 2 week version of the original Snorri program where it's open to everyone and it's just to get your dose of Snorri in a 2 week program instead of 5 weeks. In just a minute, I'm going to tell you how to apply for the program. But for 2026, we're doing the ring road around Iceland during the adventure tour, and we'll make stops at all the major sites along the way. And there will be plenty of fun and hiking involved during that time. But if you've been asking yourself how to apply, here's a step-by-step guide, which starts by going to snorri.is. On our website, you want to navigate to the Snorri program, and there you'll find our online application form through JotForm. You'll also find a downloadable PDF or Word document where you have to fill in your Icelandic family tree. It's just your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents, all the way down to your emigrating ancestors. The first step is to have at least one professional or academic reference and a letter of recommendation directly to info@snorri.is. And in that reference, it's just important to have them vouch for you like you would do if you're applying for a job. Optionally, but highly recommended, is applying for scholarships. There are plenty available, and we'll get more on that later. But this is what the application box on our website looks like. So you click the button below, which takes you to this page where you have to download one of the family tree files and then open the JotForm application, which is a very simple process here on the left, where you just click through, you fill in information about yourself, and there are a few motivated essay questions where we ask you to tell us why you should be picked for the Snorri Program 2026. And your family tree form looks like the form on the right, and it's just a question of filling in the correct information. It's really good to have Icelandic roots and using the Icelandic roots database to fill in this information, but your family will also be able to help you with this. So finally, we have social media accounts where you can follow us. And if you want to get in touch, you can always email us at info@snorri.is. There are 5 days left on the application deadline, but if you're seeing this after that, then don't hesitate to contact us by email, and we'll add you to the waitlist. Now we're going to move over to granting opportunities, and I I believe Gwen has some content prepared for us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Atlee and Julie, and thank you, presenters. That was really, really exciting to hear that. So I'm just going to share again a slide, and then Diane's going to speak about opportunities for financial support from the US, and I'll speak about Canada. So here we're sharing. Okay, go ahead, Diane.
All right, thanks, Gwen, and thank you to all the presenters. It was really very, very interesting. There are some opportunities available to the US-based Snorri participants, and typically they are for Snorri. There is one that is for Snorri Plus, but please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you out in any way we can. The resources available are from the INL US, and they're offered automatically. You do not need to apply. We will reach out to you and offer you a scholarship, but it's something you must accept. So we're not just going to give you the money. You need to say, yes, I'd like to participate and receive that scholarship. Icelandic Roots has scholarships available, and you can apply online for those scholarships. Also, the Icelandic Association of Chicago has scholarships available for both Snorri and Snorri Plus. You need not be a member to apply for them. And on the slide, you can see the link to that application program. There is also the Guttormson Memorial Scholarship, and that is not an online application process. You just simply contact Rosemary Guttormson, and she will lead you through the process. I think one thing to note is that for some of these organizations, both here and in Canada, there may be some post Snorri program requirements. You may need to put together some reports or a video or become a member. So just keep that in mind. Please make sure that you read the instructions carefully when you're filling out the applications so that you know what the expectations are. And so, Gwen, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk about the Canadian side.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. So the INLNA also offers financial grants to both Canadian and to American Snorris. There is an application process, so you can find out more information on the INLNA website. For Canadians only, the Canada Iceland Foundation gives a bursary to all Canadian Snorris. There's again no application is required for this. The Snorri Iceland office will inform Canada Iceland Foundation of who's been accepted in the program, and so they'll be on the list to receive this bursary. But it is really good to follow up on it yourself, making sure they have your address, because they do send a check to you, not an e-transfer. So a little bit of follow-up there, but that's a guarantee for the Canadians. And also want to mention Icelandic Roots has been very, very generous to Canadian applicants for Snorri, also, as well as Americans. And you can find out more at the Icelandic Roots website. And then for both INLNA and INL-US, we have member chapters or groups that are part of our organization straight across from, the Atlantic to the Pacific coast. And our member chapters also support Snorri. They actually really give it a high priority. We're all very committed to this program. And sometimes it's not necessarily our local people. I'm here in Toronto, And if we didn't, last year we had Siobhan, so from Toronto, but we also supported people from other locations across Canada. So other member groups are like that, particularly Alberta really gives a lot of support, and they'll give priority to their local groups, but also it's worthwhile looking and sending out emails requesting support, because if there isn't a local person, the member chapters will support people from anywhere across North America. And they also support Snorri Plus and the Snorri Alumni Internship programs. So if you're applying for those sort of programs, it's worthwhile reaching out to the chapters, and you can get in touch with them directly through this link here, or you can go through INLNA and INLUS, and actually even Snorri Iceland, and they'll redirect you. So I put also here, Snorri Iceland, Atle and Julie have said, really let them know if you need financial support, and they will also connect you with any and all possible scholarship sources. So it's a really action-packed, a really rich experience, and all of our Icelandic groups in North America are really committed to supporting you if you should choose to go on this program. Thank you.
And we should also mention that you saw the price. Atle had the price listed for the 2026 program for the Snorris. In 2025, the participants received an average of $3,855 in US dollars, which translates to 5,330 Canadian dollars. So it can really help bring the price down. So do not be afraid or concerned about reaching out for these scholarships and accepting them when offered to you. They are very important. All right. I think now we are ready to go into our Q&A. So right now we don't have any open questions from the audience, but one of the things that I've heard people talking about is whether or not they should wait to participate in Snorri or Snorri Plus until the Grand Tour takes them to the place where their ancestors came from. So, Julie or Atle, would you like to kind of speak to whether or not you should wait, or why it's just important that you just participate?
I can take that. So for the younger Snorris, it's a very different setup than for Snorri Plus. The adventure tour portion for the younger Snorris is really not the main portion kind of around heritage, right? That for the younger Snorris is the 2-week homestay section. So for the younger Snorris, there's no reason to wait. It just kind of is a matter of figuring out the timing that works best for you with, schooling and work and whatever else is going on in your life. It is open, like we said, 20 to 30. If you're 19 and you're going to turn 20 that same year, you can still apply. If you're already 30, you're going to turn 31, you can still apply. But yeah, for Snorri Plus, it is only 2 weeks. So 1 week in Reykjavik and then 1 week somewhere out in the countryside outside of the city. And so for Snorri Plus, yes, if you are really interested in a specific region, maybe you only have heritage in one very specific area and you really want to make sure you go there, then definitely get in touch with us. And we can let you know what we might have in the works for the next couple years. I can tell you that this year for Snorri Plus, we're focusing on West Iceland. And next year, we will most likely go back to East and North Iceland, which is what we did last summer. And that is the area where most people have some amount of heritage. We are also always, of course, happy to help individually, point you in the right direction if you're interested in planning your own trip or something, or in extending your trip. That is something that a lot of people do if they want to have a little more downtime, or want to go to an area that is not on the itinerary for that particular year. So particularly for Snorri Plus, I would say the majority of people either come a few days early or extend their trip on the back end so that they have more flexibility like that. So that's another option.
Thank you very much. So Oliver, we heard from you that your Snorri adventure caused you to really kind of get excited and participate a little bit more in the local Icelandic activities in Nova Scotia and Gimli in Canada. Siobhan, have you gotten that same encouragement to be part of more involved perhaps in local activities?
Yeah, definitely. So I was part of the Icelandic Club of Toronto beforehand, but really this program has given me more of a it's really just, yeah, given me more of a connection now from personal experience. So I'm still involved with the Icelandic Club of Toronto. But yeah, I feel like I want to give more and participate more in the INLNA. And so I'm participating with also trying to encourage more people to be part of the Snorri program. But it's definitely something that after you do it, makes you want to give back.
Oliver, do you have anything to add to that?
Um, yeah, I I think she's spot on. It definitely makes you want to give back, especially if you received scholarships or support in any way from the greater, INLNA or the greater community. Um, I guess I kind of got lucky. I actually really enjoy doing the camp. It makes you sort of feel like a kid again, and so that's an easy way if you're already in the area for the summer. A very easy way to help out. And I think they're always looking for counselors, especially sort of Snorri alum counselors.
Okay. So for both of you, is there anything that you wish you had understood or had learned prior to going on your Snorri adventures?
I well, this one's kind of tricky. The big one for me is the language, and I had sort of picked away off and on for about a year or two, trying to learn more off than on, I'd say. Um, but every little bit you can learn before you go will make a difference, especially in the homestay. I don't think I mentioned it in my presentation, but Dora, the mother, spoke pretty good English, and so did the son Bjorn, but Ruki didn't speak any. And so even things like dinner conversations get a lot easier even if you know just a tiny bit. So that'd be one thing I would recommend to people who are thinking about doing snoring.
I guess I agree too. I had no previous experience with Icelandic language or beforehand, so it was really great to do the 2 weeks learning before. And but yeah, so doing that was really great, but it was really a quick introduction. And then, as I said, we really, that first weekend I met 70 cousins. So Icelandic was just being spoken all around. So it would have been useful, to know a bit more, but really, but they could kind of help us learn, because they did speak a bit of English. But the cousin that, was my relation. He didn't speak too much English, and it was mostly his wife. So I would agree. Sometimes it is useful to maybe just have a little bit background to communicate, but it worked out well enough. And I definitely want to continue language classes now after doing the program. I would say definitely, to people, make sure you don't just bring your cell phone, like bring an actual camera, which I did on my trip. And I found that was very great because I look on these photos very fondly. So if you're going on this trip, invest and bring a good camera that you can take lots of photos that you can remember, because it's truly a unique experience. You want to document as much as you can.
Oh, actually, one more thing to add on to that. I think there was 3 people in my room, 3 or 4 in the Dollar Hostel in Reykjavik, and we all decided to keep like a little journal, just write down a couple sentences from each day. Similar to the camera thing, you can go back and look back on your trip, and you get a wave of nostalgia. So writing's not for everyone, but I'd highly recommend it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So, Julie and Atli, for people who have maybe some dietary needs or some accommodations of some sort, are those easily accommodated through Snorri and Snorri Plus, or how concerned do people need to be about especially their dietary issues?
Much less concerned than the participants the first couple years back in like 1999 and 2000. And I say that because I interviewed one of the Snorris from the first couple of years. I can't remember if it was 99 or 2000. And that was something that she mentioned. I think she was a vegan way back then. And that was much more challenging these days. It's generally not a big issue. We certainly, if you have a food allergy or anything like that, we will make sure that we communicate that to your host family and anyone else. So you don't have to worry about, language issues. We'll make sure, if you need to have a list of the Icelandic words to be able to read labels yourself, we'll do all of that for you. We will do our best to communicate, with restaurants where we're taking the whole group, things like that. During the homestay period, the availability of different types of, for instance, gluten-free food or something could vary quite a bit depending on where you're staying. If you're on a farm in the middle of nowhere, that's something where we would want to communicate with the family ahead of time and maybe help you stock up on a couple things to take with you. But in general, especially for Snorri Plus, during the second week tour or the Snorri Adventure Tour, we will know that ahead of time and be able to make arrangements and work with you. I will say that we do ask people to be open-minded and flexible. If you have more like preferences, that we do encourage you to try new things, maybe that you wouldn't be part of your normal diet at home. But if it is a strict allergy or intolerance or something, then of course we'll do everything we can to make your life as easy as possible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, before we wrap up and tell you what's coming up next, I think we have one more video from a Snorri participant, Simone. So Gwen, I'll turn it over to you to let us know what's coming up in the INLNA world.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, everyone, for your presentations today and answering questions. Siobhan, Oliver, Atlee, Julie, really appreciate you coming on and sharing this information. I must say, I've seen the videos. Do recommend when you tap back in, watching, searching, or you'll see those videos that really capture also the excitement. But Siobhan and Oliver have really added some sort of spice to the experience, so we really get a sense of it. And thank you, Julie and Natalie, for the information. And thank you, Diane and Doug, for all the support, technical support in making this possible. So just want to say with the INLNA, we have our calendar that we're selling. And the one thing I want to mention, I don't have a slide, but I want to mention that I've written out biographies for each of the 12 Icelanders, Western Icelanders, people of Icelandic descent who have really made a mark in North American society. The calendar is called the Influencers, and both in from United States, Western Icelanders in the United States and also in Canada. And it's really fascinating, particularly January features Stephenson, who was an explorer of the Arctic. And I think that's really unique right now. And he was based in the United States, but born in Canada. So I just direct people to go to our website, look at those biographies. And if you haven't got the calendar, then it's available for sale. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now pass it back to Diane.
All right. Thank you, Gwen. The INLUS has their next series of Icelandic language classes starting at the end of the month. The basic 1.0 class is full, but there are still a few, and I mean a few, openings left for the basic 2.5 and basic 3.0 classes. Enrollment in those classes is limited, so if you are interested, I encourage you to apply now. And more information can be found under the Travel and Culture tab at inlus.org. So thank you all, especially Doug, Gwen, Atlee, Chauvin, Oliver, for everything that you've done. It's been a very nice presentation today, and thank you as well to all the attendees. Bye-bye.